magnificent. I am light. Oh, I am love. I am real. I am magnificent. I am light. I am love. You are real. You are magnificent. You are light. You are love. You are real. You are magnificent. You are light. You are love. We are real. We are magnificent. We are light. We are love. We are real. We are magnificent. We are light. We are love. We sing the song of we are magnificent. We are light. We are love. We are we are magnificent. We are light. We are love. God is real. God is magnificent. God is light. God is love. God is real. God is magnificent. God is light. God is love.
folks celebrate this day as May Day, but I think we ought to celebrate it as birthday month. Who has a birthday in May? Oh, look over there. Yeah, well, we're going to sing happy birthday to. Susan's going to lead us in this.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, God loves you. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, my goodness, that sounds good. Now, before we get too far along, we have some special announcements. We need to do that. And I don't have a program. Are they right there? Okay, okay. No announcements? Oh, yes, here's some. Okay, next week we'll have Reverend Don Kerr. We'll do the message on the fear factor. So be here or be square. But we want you to know something here. We have this hospitality thing that's really kicked in gear now. We have people showing up that want to help set this thing in place. So every Sunday after service, we can go down and we can have a cup of coffee, we can have a cup of tea, we can have visitation and so on. And you know what? We're going to continue that, except if there's a day that comes up and nobody's going to help set up, we'll just not have a coffee hour. But I think we got enough people. We're actually asking for a couple more, maybe 2 or 3. And I think, do I dare ask, bring up that, check with Kathy Daniel on if you have a question about it. If you want to help, you can talk to me. Yeah, you can talk to her. And we just decided, we'll have enough people that want to show up because it's a joyful thing to do. Everybody who does it says it's fun because you see everybody, you know who's here and who's not, and you get a chance to visit also. It isn't just all work. But we need people to set up and also take it down and also clean up. So we'll continue that. Thank you, Kathy. Okay. The book study's going on, and we're still doing that, and we're having a great time. That's a good book. That's What's in the Way is the Way. That really speaks the truth about what's in the way. And it's on Thursdays, 1:30. We did chapter 3 last week, but we moving right along, and it's a book you can pick up on and pick into and join and move right along with us. So you're welcome to be there. Masks, as you know, we're no longer required to wear masks. However, Woodland Chapel suggests that you go right ahead if you feel comfortable, and masks or not, you're welcome here. A new class is coming up. Reverend Moore, would you speak to that? Yeah, who's going to teach that?
We're going to have a class called Affirmative Prayer and Meditation, and it's starting on Tuesday at 6 o'clock. If you'd like to come, you're welcome. There's a sign-up sheet on the library table. And the basic of it is using these interior experiences to be able to really connect with that infinite goodness that's within yourself and in the whole universe. And so as you do that connection, you'll find out the subtle distinctions and the similarities between both prayer and meditation. It's always been a good class. I think the last time we taught it here was in 2018.
Whoa.
So someone may want to take a renewal on it. Okay, welcome everybody.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that sounds great. Reverend Moore always teaches a good class, so be there or miss out on something good. All right. Now, another thing we like to do before we get too far, we want to do a congregation song. Yeah.
Sounds good.
And you can stand or stay where you're at, but let's all sing.
Please do stand if you can. Got the Daniel name on. My soul is welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, my
Soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here.
I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Yeah, my soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. Good job.
Good morning. Though not listed in your program, we do have a pray-in now. So I'll ask you to make yourself comfortable, close your eyes if you choose, and join me in praying in our service today. I know that God is everywhere, and everywhere, everything is God. I know that this being true, I am God, you are God. There is God everywhere, in everyone, in everything. And I know that God is right here, right in this service, guiding, helping, knowing, and loving. I know for today, world peace, it can be true. Please keep the world together in peace and love. I know health for those who are in need, for those of our family here and those in Ukraine and everywhere in the world there is need. And I give great thanks that I can speak these words, that these words will go out into the world and become manifested. I release these words today into the law of love, which only knows how to say yes. And so I believe that all these things I have spoken today are true and definitely here now. And as I follow this release, I ask you to say with me, and so it is. Now, printed in the bulletin is an affirmation. I would like you to speak it with me. I am blessed and grateful for my emotions and feelings. I am one in the one. Peace and calm are at the center of my being, and so it is.
We're going to have a special reading today. Reverend Moore Horton, let's have Reverend Moore Horton do the reading today.
All right, well, Wyatt Williams was scheduled this morning, but he has a sick child, so he's not here, and neither are his girls, unfortunately. Weren't they fun? Did you see them at Easter time? The girls in their little dresses and doing their thing and putting flowers on the cross. That was sweet. The reading this morning is from the Science of Mind magazine daily guides, and they're composed by Deborah Perdue, who's a religious science practitioner, just like Ruth and Kathy and Cheryl and Donna. Yeah, did I miss anybody? Yeah, so she's in the magazine. I've started reading them, and if you haven't gotten one, I think there's a couple left. It's all in the library. But anyway, she's a practitioner. Not only is she a practitioner, she's also a practitioner in Grants Pass, Oregon. So local talent, all right. And this first reading, I think, is really right on topic for today's discussion of emotions. The title of the reading this morning is Letting Emotions Come and Go. Today, I feel my feelings with self-honesty. They are just feelings. That was according to Emma Kieves. Today, I shall not doubt or fear. God within me strengthens me. Ernest Holmes, The Science of Mind. A big life lesson, which was a great relief to me, is that I don't need to linger in emotions that don't feel good. Gratitude shifts me when I let it. I can count on emotions passing. They are fleeting, and so I can watch them float away. Each dawn is truly a new day. If I'm still grumpy or sad following a down day, my morning spiritual practice of prayer, contemplation, and meditation consistently uplifts me to a higher vibration. An important lesson for me has been to let emotions be revealed, feeling them. When I was younger, I chose drugs, alcohol, and cigarettes to bypass emotions. Since emotions are transitory, I know I won't get stuck in them, and it is okay, and it's healthy to allow myself to feel whatever it is I'm feeling, even the negative emotions. No more spiritual bypassing or substance abuse for me to use in avoiding them. The conditions I prefer to live in are joy, bliss, and a deep sense of contentment. The ones I'm tempted to ignore, if I can, are anger, jealousy, envy, and a general sense of feeling grumpy and out of sorts. An important tip brought home by COVID-19 restrictions is to accept what is happening, including what I'm feeling. When I accept my feelings, watch them happen, and then pass, I know I will rise above them and return to my true God essence. And the affirmation that goes with this reading is this: like waves in the ocean, I allow my emotions to flow. I am grateful to be one drop in the ocean of God, containing the whole ocean within me.
That was great. Thank you, Reverend Moore. I think we better have some more music, though. What do you say?
Sounds good.
Okay.
This is Beautiful by Carole King.
You've got to get up every morning with a smile on your face and show the world all the love in your heart. People gonna treat you better. You're gonna find, yes you will, that you're beautiful
As you feel, riding at the station with the workday window blowing, I've got nothing to do but watch the passers-by. Mirrored in their faces, I see frustration growing, and they don't see it showing. Why do I?
You've got to get up every morning with a smile on your face and show the world all the love in your heart. People gonna treat you better. You're gonna find, yes you will, that you're beautiful
As you feel, I have often asked myself the reason for the sadness in a world where tears are just a lullaby. If there's any answer, maybe love can end the madness, maybe not. Oh, but we can only try.
You've got to get up every morning with a smile on your face and show the world all the love in your heart. People gonna treat you better. You're gonna find, yes you will, that you're beautiful. You're beautiful. You're beautiful.
As you feel,
As you feel.
Nothing like good toe tapping music. Thank you, Susan and Mark. You always give us good stuff. Thank you. We appreciate you. Now, we have a wonderful, well, we actually have a surprise. No, I'm going to hold that. I'm not going to talk anymore. Reverend Moore, would you give us what you got in store for the morning? You're in for a treat, folks. Don't anybody leave.
The title is simply, What is in Your Spice Rack? Ooh, that's the title. I wanted to recall, perhaps you were here last week. Do you remember the Starfleet officer? So good. Thank you, Shannon. And you remember the talk, go boldly, right? Boldly go when no one else has gone before. And that's what we're going to do this morning. Well, maybe we've gone here before. I'm not sure. Have you gone into your emotions lately just to see what's kind of ticking inside? Oh, yeah. They seem to be kind of pervasive, don't they? Emotions. Oh, goodness sakes. Well, today we're going to kind of look at that awareness that we can bring, that our emotions bring to us. Now, the analogy that's suggested by the Centers for Spiritual Living this morning is that emotions are the spice of life. Oh, the spice of life. Right. Well, I just added, what's spice used for? Flavor. To make things come alive, right? They taste good. Enhancement. Right. Used for all kinds of good things, like skilled cooks. Right? So I just was curious. So I looked in my cupboard at home, and I found there were 65 spice bottles. And that doesn't count the Yoshida's soy sauce in the refrigerator and that sort of thing. So we all have a variety of spices that we use, don't we, according to our predilections for cooking. Well, what happens, I believe, is that the emotions that we feel, the things that come to us in any sort of exciting way, noticeable way, are those spices themselves, but they're for our spiritual lives. As we look at the emotion, as we embrace the emotion, as we let it come into us and let us feel it, then we can see that the emotion is like a signpost. It's a signpost. It's like a direction signal. Say, pay attention here. If you're feeling really strongly about something, there's something within you that's related to what's happening in your life. And so follow that. Feel it. Accept it. Now we know emotions come and emotions go. Unfortunately, we don't stay in them forever. But there are sometimes things that really do stick around for a while. And so what we're going to do this morning is look at some of these too, some of the ones that kind of are like a tar baby and they kind of stick it. They don't want to go away real quick. So we're going to look at some methods to take care of that. Okay. So that's the beginning of our talk here today. And I would like to get the rest of it out here. Now, emotions are so, how would I say it, so unique to each one of us, right? No one else can feel my emotions. No one else can feel your emotions. Oh, are we using this one or are we using this one? Okay. Okay, all right. That's good. Oh, there we go. All right. My voice kind of dropped out of existence there for a moment, I thought. So, emotions are really very unique, yet there are some kind of common elements in emotions that I looked up like a dictionary definition of Merriam-Webster, and it's said that an emotion is a conscious, natural reaction, such as anger or fear, and it's subjectively experienced within us as a strong feeling, all right? It's a strong feeling, and typically it's addressing some kind of thing that's happening in our life, and it's accompanied by bodily changes. You know about neuropeptides and all that sort of thing. You think a thought, and your brain gets a chemical, and your toe knows about it before you can even think about it. It's just there. It's just boom, it goes right through the body, right? Now, that's important to know, but it's also important to know, to realize that feelings or emotions play a tremendous role in our spiritual lives. For example, let's take the role of emotions in what we call affirmative prayer, the class we're going to be doing, okay? That emotion is, are we cutting out? No? Okay, I hear my voice dropping. It's distracting me. I'll let that happen again. So when we are in affirmative prayer, emotions play a really big part, right? remember the definition or the formula, let's call it, for affirmative prayer. There's a concept, a mental equivalent, an idea, something we would like to see in our lives, some activity or quality of God or some aspect of life that we'd like to see. And having a clear concept of that is really important, okay? However, Dr. Holmes explains in the Science of Mind textbook that without feeling, without the impetus of our emotional life in informing that concept, it doesn't happen very well. When we have the concept plus feeling, we have a demonstration. We have something that changes in our life. And that's important to know too, that emotions play a really important part in not only our physical, life and activities, but also in our spiritual lives. You see, feelings act as signposts. They help discover what's important in our lives. Now, I thought of some feeling things, all right? How many of you have ever been to a sporting event? Anybody? Have you ever been into a sporting event where it's down to the very last moment? The bottom of the ninth inning, say you're playing baseball, and there's 2 runners on, and your team's down by 1 or 2, and you got a batter at hand, and the batter gets back there, and there it goes, a home run. What happens? What happens to the stands? People are, yeah, this is great. Whoa, all right. Well, that's emotion, isn't it? It's emotion that's welling up from inside. It expresses in your voice, and it expresses in your body. You probably get up and do this sort of thing, just because it's, yeah. Now you might say, well, what does that have to do with my spiritual life? My goodness, I like baseball, or maybe I like volleyball, or maybe I like football, or maybe I like going to the opera. I don't know. Maybe you like stamp collecting. I don't know. Maybe you like anything that gets you excited. I like to sing. We had a show yesterday, the Senate Airs Dinner. It was a lot of fun. What does that have to do with my spiritual life? Well, what it does, in this case, is to reveal that somewhere within you is this energy ball, I'm going to say, or energy activity that is connected to sports or to opera or whatever it is. And that energy then is allowed to release itself, and it points to a value that you have in your heart, whatever value it might be. But it's something that you personally are invested in. Now, it could be, of course, that you just came to the baseball game with a friend and didn't care too much about it, but got swept up in the moment. Pretty occasional. Or maybe it's something that really does mean something to you. This was your kid's high school closing game of the season, and you're really invested in it, and you got some passion there. Or maybe you're a lifelong ticket holder. What do they call them? A season ticket holder. and you're just committed to this team and what it does, and you'll travel to Los Angeles if you have to watch the next game. Okay, you're really good. So there's even a simple thing like that begins to get into what your soul's about. What's in your soul? What's happening in there? Right? That's an important concept to know with our emotions, particularly those that are very strong. The stronger the emotion, the more there is a relationship between what's really happening and what you are feeling. Now, not all of us have had great sports activities, perhaps. How many of you have had children or grandchildren? Anybody? Oh, yeah, everybody, right? Well, do you remember, or maybe recently, your child comes home from school with a wonderful report card, and not only are they getting A's and B's or whatever is appropriate for their level, they're also getting things like, at least they used to have, and I think they still do, gets along well with others, sorts of things, those kind of things. And doesn't that just kind of light you up as a parent or a grandparent or a great-grandparent? You just, oh, this is wonderful. Yeah, you like it. And in fact, you might even feel so good about it that you're saying, okay, I think that's a great teacher. I really like that teacher. I feel warm about this teacher. And the school's doing a great job, and I'm just happy. Now, what does that say about your inner life? Or what can it say, let's say? It'll mean different things to different people. But as we look at it, we can see that this speaks to the tremendous value that you have in your heart for your child or your nephew or your niece or your grandchild, right? That you have an orientation to that, and it's inside of you, and it's wonderful. And it might even say something about great expression, a great interest in education. You think education is a way to make life better for people. Emotions are kind of all around us, right? I was reading this morning briefly, came across an article in the Statesman Journal. Sprague graduate, Sprague High School, it's in Salem, right? His name, I'm not sure how to pronounce it exactly, Quitoriano, was drafted by the Texans. That's in Houston, Texas. And just to show you the emotional thing, Sprague graduate Tegan will begin his NFL career in Houston. The former Oregon State tight end was selected by the Houston Texans in the 5th round of the NFL draft on Saturday with the 107th overall pick. It feels unbelievable, he said. It's a great spot, he said. I'm glad I was able to enjoy that moment with my family. Oh, yeah. Emotion, right? Feeling. If you want to look to find some emotional writing, look on the sports page. It's got a lot of it there. Or maybe if you're a TV fan and you like to watch the program called Call the Midwives. Has anybody seen that program? Is that filled with emotion? Every single episode, there's life and death and birth, and there's sorrow and there's gladness, and oh my goodness sakes, yeah. We watch it. My wife loves it, and I go along with it. That's what I say anyway. Okay. That's okay. She knows. But sometimes it's really relaxing just to fall into that kind of, emotional goodness. They always seem to come out good. Okay. I've got a choice to make here in terms of addressing the next topic. And I think I'll do something I said I wouldn't do. When I was getting ready for welcoming people to our Thursday book discussion group, a new couple came in, Cynthia and I think it's Cindy, is that right? And Ron. And Ron, I was talking to Ron, said, well, I'm going to be talking about how emotions play in our lives. And have you got any, do you know any good story about how fear might be handled? And he said, well, yes, as a matter of fact, I do. I have, many years ago, I was here for just one meeting at Woodland Chapel, and I shared this story. And then he wrote it up in terms of advice to his grandson. And I'm going to reprise that a little bit because I think it shows us that when we address whatever fear or complicated situation we might be in, we can indeed come out better than we might otherwise have. And I'm reading here. Ron writes, I was a young soldier stationed in Metz, France. I was sent to a hospital in Landstuhl, Germany, because I was diagnosed with a collapsed lung. After my treatment, I was given a train ticket to get back to the Metz in France. Here is where the story begins. After many zigs and zags, the train was stopped at a small German town, and the tickets were inspected. Now, I don't know whether the ticket was given to me wrongly, or I don't know if I just got on the wrong train, but the result was the same. I was thrown off the train by two large German police officers. They weren't going to have any of this sort of thing happening on their train, right? They were big, and I wasn't. It kind of implies to me there was a certain amount of trepidation involved here. There I was, stranded in a small German town, not speaking the language. Because of the circuitous route of the train, I had no idea what direction Metz lied. None, not at all. And I'm, as he says, somewhat challenged in directions anyway. So, not a clue. But I figured some action was better than none. So I simply found an intersection and started to hitchhike. Now, as things were going, nobody was picking me up with my duffel bag. I was just standing there. So I decided, well, I don't know where it is. I'll go to another different route, different street, and I'll hitchhike from there. And he did. And immediately comes a car, and inside is an Army major. And the Army major isn't going to Metz particularly, but is going right by it. So he got a perfectly wonderful ride with a great conversation. And it was actually better than if the train ticket had been good, because the train ticket was second class, crowded circumstances, and would have taken several hours to get there, and he got there more quickly. He says, I know that even at a tender age of 20, there was a life lesson here, although it did take me a while to fully realize its full meaning. But eventually I did figure it out and lived my life accordingly. And that's what he told his grandson about. What he said is, if at first things aren't working out, try something different. Don't get stuck in it, okay? And secondly, that there's a plan, there's an aspect of life. And I believe it comes from our higher self, from that divine consciousness that's within us, that really has it all in hand for us, if we'll just trust it and have faith in it. So I thank you, Ron, for sharing that story. I appreciate it. Let's give Ron a little hand. He's in the back there. I told Ron I wasn't going to read that story, but I did. Okay. Oh, gosh. Got several things I'd like to say this morning. All right, let's skip the joke for the moment. Maybe we get that in a little later. Okay. Has anybody recently or in the past had an experience with a 3-year-old getting angry or upset or somehow, all like that? We have a beautiful young lady, about that tall, I think, and she can cry. When she is angry about something, you know it. Not only does she just cry, she'll scream. Then when she's done screaming, or even while she's still screaming, she starts dancing around on her feet, and she's really upset. And then if it's a really bad time, she flops down on the floor and kicks. Well, I think that's fairly common. I don't know. I've seen little ones do that sort of thing. But this just shows how total an expression emotions can be, right? They go through the whole body. Now, as we grow older and be more culturally assimilated and so forth, we learn not to scream, kick, and fall on the floor. But the strength of a powerful emotion is still in the body. It's still inside of us. And so we have to pay attention to those feelings. We have to find better ways to express them than what our little 3-year-old has yet learned, but she'll get there. She'll get there. I know she will. I have great confidence in that. Ernest Holmes writes in The Science of Mind textbook, we call it a textbook, it's The Science of Mind and Life and Spirit. In the well-balanced person, emotion is controlled by the intellect. But in many people, there is conflict between the emotion and the intellect. Emotion uncontrolled produces chaos. It does. Unexpressed emotion produces confusion, conflict, and complexes. For energy will have an outlet, always. Bottled up energy, this energy creates a pressure that is the cause of much damage in the physical person. So we're talking science of mind principle here too, something our founder, Ernest Holmes, brought to our attention. Now, most of us are taught during childhood to shut down our emotions, and that's a way of hiding from them or running away from them. And often, men were taught not to cry. It might be okay to, go to a football game and shout and scream and get all emotional for a man, but soft emotions like crying or being too tender and so forth, sometimes those were not encouraged, that's how we say. And society, in addition, has actually trained us to see that certain emotions are bad while other emotions are good. Now, that distinction is not a real one because all emotions have a role in life, whether they are painful emotions or very pleasant emotions. All emotions have a role to play. But if we see them as either good or bad, and we find ourselves in the bad ones, angry, upset, whatever, they can cause us to berate ourselves, to actually condemn ourselves for feeling these things. And when we express the good emotions to the exclusion of others, we can also berate ourselves for that because we're not taking the whole life into our heart, right? Berating ourselves, condemning ourselves, can create these hidden beliefs in our psyche, in our subconscious, if you like. And those can arise at unexpected times and affect the outcome of our experience and even perhaps sabotage our heart's desires. Some time ago, a couple clients came to me and their self-confidence was deeply shaken. They said, "We're angry with ourselves." They said they were constantly berating themselves for how badly they had handled things. I could sense the sadness that weighed heavily upon his heart. And he was approaching depression. She was very concerned about him and their financial position, and she said, "I've never seen him like this." They feared for their financial future and their mental health both. You see, they were facing the loss not only of self-confidence, but of a significant amount of funds. And that had rattled their sense of abundance. And they were having trouble with believing that the universe was out to help them, to support them. They couldn't seem to get in touch with their faith that God supplies all that is needed to thrive. So, what do we do in these situations? Well, I'll tell you about this. Fear, anger, and sadness can come in an unwelcome triumvirate. What can we do to find the lessons in them? It took time. It was not easy. By facing their emotions and peeling back the layers, they learned how these beliefs had originated. They uncovered beliefs that people were out to do them harm, to rob from them, that money is hard to get, and it's even harder to keep, and all of these sorts of beliefs that had come in through society, through race consciousness, as we call it. They traced these beliefs to their early childhood experiences in their homes. Both of them came from homes of limited means, and so they were tight about money, shall we say, tight about money. Now, they actually began the healing work that's necessary to process these feelings, rather than simply trying to hide them or make them go away, okay? Emotions come and emotions go, but sometimes you've got to help them along a little bit. Actually, by embracing these emotions, they uncovered hurts and pains, and then they were able to apply some really basic spiritual techniques: forgiveness, compassion, and love. And as they got to know themselves better, they healed from that sense of condemning themselves and were able to let go of this negative feeling of, life is too much. In fact, the last time I spoke with them, they said, "You know, Reverend Moore, it appears there may be a way even to recoup our funds." So that's kind of a happy ending here. They healed up and they were able to they look like they're going to get their money. From this case study, we can see that tough times can become learning opportunities. We don't need to ignore, run, or hide from painful emotions. We can welcome them into our hearts with open arms. You see, emotions are somewhat like thoughts. They're things of the mind, definitely, right? It's a conscious thing. Yet they affect the body so much. As we move through them, we can see that as they come and go, emotions, no matter how strong they might be at the moment, are not ourselves. They're a concept that's creating, and that too can pass. Okay, I think we have time for a joke. Do you think we have time for a joke? Yes. Okay, here's the one I found that I thought was cute and expresses probably the emotion of embarrassment and maybe a little disappointment. Okay, this is two priests were going to go on a vacation. Now, Go is on the Indian Ocean, and it is a beautiful place, wonderful beaches, great place to vacation. Okay, now they were determined to make this a real vacation by not wearing anything that would identify them as priests. For once, they're going to enjoy a vacation as regular people. As soon as the plane landed, they headed for a store and bought some really outrageous outfits: shorts, shirts, sandals, sunglasses, the whole works. The next morning, they went to the beach, dressed in their tourist garb. They were sitting on the beach chairs, enjoying a drink, the sunshine, and the scenery, when a really lovely young lady blonde actually walked up wearing a bikini and came straight towards them. They couldn't help but notice. Good heavens. As the blonde passed by, she smiled and said, "Good morning, Father. Good morning, Father." Nodding and addressing them and walking on. They were both stunned. How in the world did she know they were priests? So the next day, they went back to the store and bought even more outrageous outfits. These outfits were so loud you could hear them coming, for goodness sakes. Once again, in their new attire, they settled down in their chairs to enjoy the sunshine. And after a little while, the same gorgeous blonde, wearing a different colored bikini, taking her sweet time, came walking toward them. And again, she nodded at each and said, "Good morning, Father. Good morning, Father." She started to walk away, and one of the priests couldn't stand it any longer and said, "Just a minute, young lady." "Yes, Father. We are priests, and we're proud of it. But I have to know, how in the world do you know we are priests, dressed as we are?" "Father, it's me," she replied, "Sister Philomena." Hear me. Pick up where I was here. Okay. There's so much in the emotional field that we could deal with. I've got another story I'd like to share with you. But one of the things we can do as we begin to experience emotions and feel, if we feel that they're not the emotion we want to have, we can actually begin an exercise to think about that emotion, let it come into our minds, and then breathe. It's always good to breathe when you do meditation. And then let that just focus a little bit and become aware of the depths and the intensity of the feeling. Address it directly in your mind. You might even ask it the question, what lesson are you bringing to me? Where is that lesson? And as you breathe, let the answer come to you. It may not come all at once. You might have to do it several times. But this exercise then allows that fog of negativity to begin to dissipate. Just like when you are in the sunlight, in physical reality. And as this happens, you become more aware that you are the center. The I am of you is the one in its right place. It's always calm. It's always able to address life. It's always able to respond. As you bring your consciousness to that sacred seat of consciousness that is within you, that great expression of the divine. You breathe in the light, you breathe in the love, you breathe in the awareness of the I am. And you breathe out the fog. You breathe it out. In with light, out with fog. In with light, out with fog. And in doing this exercise, you will normally find that fog dissipates. And that emotion that wants to hang on to you wants to float by, as emotions are meant to do. And remember that you can always return to that place of inner peace. Spiritual practice is essential because it provides important support for processing through any type of experience, particularly those that might be negative emotional experiences. You might use a mantra, you might journal, you might meditate, you might work with a practitioner or a prayer partner, or you might seek professional counseling, but it's really basic to accept the emotion itself, learn not just from pain, but also from tenderness and even bliss. When you're feeling that way, you learn. So what would life be like if we handled our emotions with that type of spiritual awareness, what would it be like? When we routinely face these powerful emotions, you find a way to have balance in your life. Balance between what we perceive as painful emotion and what we perceive as pleasant emotion. They kind of become an unreal distinction because it's just emotion. It's just emotion. It's just feeling. It's just like, I suppose, a really good cook, when they use their spices, you don't really realize just what they put in there, do you, normally? Oh, you might have a really good taste and be able to do that. But the experience of the food is an integral or one experience. Likewise, when you're allowing emotions to be the spice of your spiritual life, you pretty soon the spices kind of aren't so important. It's the quality of the life that's important. Yeah, these emotions bring out the full flavor of the rich human experience. Now, I'd like to share a story which I think it gives us an example of a well-balanced emotions. This story spans 60 years of two lives in the last century. It illustrates what life can be like when our emotions are in balance and we truly love and serve others. Lena met Jacob when he gave her a newspaper from his cab where he distributed newspapers in Brooklyn. They met together on weekends for over 4 years. She was reading articles of the newspaper to him, and they discovered, we actually, our parents actually came from the same rural village. It happened to be in Russia, Uglitch, that village was. Now, on the day that their wedding announcement appeared in the paper, Jacob ran to the flower and said, "It's us. We're in the paper. Mr. and Mrs. She's reading, Mr. and Mrs. Chopin have the pleasure of," and before Lena could finish the announcement, Jacob kissed his new bride. "Everyone," he said, "it's true. I'm marrying Lena. It says so in the paper." Jacob ran to the flower vendor on the corner to buy a beautiful bouquet to celebrate. He turned back to Lena, who gave her fiancé a wink and pointed to a young girl walking with her mother. The little girl's father, a soldier, had fought in Europe but had not come home. Her name was Susan, and Jacob had become like a father figure to her. Lena cried happy tears when Jacob handed Susan the flowers. It was Jacob's greatest gift to Lena so far, and this tradition of Jacob helping others began and continued over their entire life together. 60 years can feel like forever. But for Jacob and Lena, there was never enough time. For all these years, Lena would read the paper to Jacob every night. And for all these years, Jacob would continue to do things for friends and neighbors and even strangers. He'd replace light bulbs or repair an appliance or carry groceries or walk the dogs. He'd do almost anything. The last night that Lena read to Jacob, she only completed a single article before she fell asleep. The next morning, she was gone. There would be no great memorial or public service. Instead, as a last tribute to his beautiful bride, Jacob placed an obituary in the same paper Lena had read to him for all those decades. He wasn't a man given to soaring rhetoric, so the announcement was fairly short. For the first time in over 60 years, Lena wasn't there to read to him, and Jacob's eyesight was failing. The next day at 4 o'clock, Jacob, out of habit, moved to his favorite chair, but Lena's chair stood empty. Since there was no paper to read, his only companion was silence until the knock at the door. Besides, his eyesight was failing. Jacob slowly rose to his feet, walked across the room, and opened the door. "Hi, Jacob. Do you remember me? It's Susan." "Oh, of course I remember you. I gave you flowers. What can I do for you?" "You can let me read to you." "But why would you want to read to me?" "Because I won the drawing," she said. "The drawing?" "Yes, the drawing. Look out in the hallway." Jacob leaned his head out the door, and there was a line of friends along the hallway, each with a newspaper under their arm. Oh, stretched so far I really couldn't see it, the end of the line. "I know you feel alone," she said, "but the truth is you'll never be alone. None of us are Lena, but we will be glad to read to you every day. Today is my day. Come in, Susan, Jacob said, wiping tears from his eyes. Come in and sit. After Jacob found his way back to his favorite chair, Susan opened the paper and began to read from the obituaries. To Lena, your voice was the story of our lives. I await the day when you will read to me again. Love, Jacob. It all comes down to love. It really does. As in so much of our spiritual life, love is the key. As we work toward our conclusion here, I'm reminded of two quotes from Scripture. And above all these, put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. And another, that was from Colossians. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God, and whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. So I feel that what we're being called to this morning, myself included, is to be able to understand that we are open to the experience of life. We're open to the experience of life when we're joyful and happy. We're going to a baseball game, or we're singing, we're having a great time. It's wonderful, the emotions are flowing. It's just a delightful, right? It's also, we're being called to those times when the emotions are more tender and maybe our feelings of loss. Still, we are being called to be open. We're called to welcome life's experiences, particularly those emotions that come to us so many times, in so many ways, uniquely in our own hearts. No one else has the exact same emotion anyone else does, yet they all have certain common elements. And as we accept those, we begin to find in our lives a sense of completion, a sense of wholeness, that we're not leaving any part of our life out. We're not disregarding the sad things. We're not overly invested in the good things. We're just simply there. We're enjoying it all. We learn from it all. We become more spiritual as we access that center of our beingness, that inner guidance, that inner presence, that higher power, that energy, that love, that goodness, which is God itself, living in our hearts. That, I think, is what we really want to know about here. That as we find that God center and we realize that God is love, and that love is what is the essence of our being in so many ways, is love itself. As we recognize this love and energize this love and become this love, then we can begin. We can begin to send this love. We can send it out into the world. We create a vibration of love, and that vibration affects our communities. It affects who we are. It affects where we go. It affects what we choose. It affects the world. And that vibration then can begin to flow from our center of our hearts out into the world, to change the world, to let the world become more open to the reality of divine love, to the reality of the goodness and power and joy and energy that is life itself. That's so we can send that love over the oceans. We can send that love over the mountains. We can send that love out into the world itself. And as we do that, we begin to realize
This is Karen Drucker's I Send My Love. If you guys want to sing with us. Send my love over the mountains. Send my love over the sea. Send my love into the heavens. It returns to me. Let's send our prayers. I send my prayers over the mountains. I send my prayers over the sea. I send my prayers into the heavens.
That, my friends, is the message of the day. Namaste. Somewhere we have a program. We had one program. Did you get over here? We don't have a program. Okay, so we don't have a program. Somebody got a program I can use? Hey, Reverend, I think you took the program. Thank you.
I want
You
it
want-
back because I got notes of your talk on it.
Okay, well, you can come up and stand here if you want for this part. Okay. All right. So this comes a time where each of us has the opportunity to reciprocate the love and reciprocate the joy that we find here in this community, to be part of that flow of life, that energy. It's emotional, yes, it's spiritual, yes, it's physical. We have hospitality and we eat, don't we? That's physical, right? So it's all of that sort of thing. So let us now participate in the offering of our hearts and minds and our substance to help support this wonderful for spiritual living. And I think we have a saying that almost every one of us knows by heart. Let's read it or say it together. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate, and so it is. Get mine out.
Everything in this world goes around, flowing with abundance, it knows no bounds. Giving and receiving, we circulate the love, gratitude and knowing there's always enough.
We give thanks, we give thanks, we give thanks with this offering. We give thanks, we give thanks, we give thanks for everything.
We give thanks,
We give thanks, we give thanks with this offering. We give thanks, we give thanks, we give thanks for everything.
we give thanks,
We give thanks, we give thanks with this offering. We give thanks, we give thanks, we give thanks for everything. We give thanks.
for everything.
This is an expression of the joy in our hearts, I think, and the wonders of being here together. And so we just give thanks. We accept these gifts from heart to heart, gift from life to life, gift from work to life, gift from retirement to life, gift to life, whatever it is. We're just really grateful to be part of this community of faith and of love. And as we live this faith, as we live in this love, our community grows in joy, happiness, and energy. And you have a word to put in, Reverend Don?
I agree with everything you said.
Okay. All right, then let's say, and so it is. Okay.
Oh, wait, one thing.
What? Nope. Have you ever known a minister to be without words for very long, anyway? Okay. You might want to even stand for this part. Let's do our prayer of protection.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay? You might stand. Probably most of you know it by heart, but if you don't, it's in the program. It's called Prayer of Protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Let us sing of peace.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator,
love, and emotions always walk in joy. Amen.
I'm gonna move to the light. I'm gonna speak
of the light,
Hey, it's good to have you back,
the light.
Kathy. Thank you so much.
in the light.
A little bit.
Choose to
Are you feeling
remember.
okay today?
Spirit is all I rejoice and give praise. And shine in the light
I'm gonna move to the light. I'm gonna speak
of the light.
I'm gonna sing
With the light
I'm gonna dance
in the light.
when I
Okay,
Choose to
good.
remember. The Spirit is all I
We'll continue to
rejoice
pray.
and
Okay,
give
we'll do
praise.
that. David, thank you.
Shine in the light. Shine in the light. Shine in the light.
Oh, okay.
Shine.
Yes, we can work it out.